Hello everyone, and welcome to 4Panel, the Geek Show's dedicated comics and manga podcast. I'm your host Andrew, and as per usual, I'm joined by my co-host Rob.
Hello!
And unfortunately this week we are not joined by Mick. He was strapped to a missile flying above the Arctic Ocean and had to ditch it in the frozen seas. But hopefully in a few decades' time he will be pulled out and de-thawed.
Yeah, that's a shame.
So how are you doing today, Rob?
Well, I'm not strapped to a rocket, not flying across the Arctic, so, I'd say fair to middling.
That's good. So, yeah, like I said, today is our Captain America episode. Specifically, we're going to be talking about some of his villains. So...
Yes.
Rob, do you have any particular favourite villains? I say that I know your absolute hands-down favourite is, of course, Baron Zemo.
Oh, I hate Baron Zemo so much.
Actually, Rob, we might have some new listeners now. Would you like to explain again why exactly it is you hate Baron Zemo?
You know Top Trumps, yeah? That game where you basically read out a stat to try and trump the stat that someone else has. It's got nothing to do with Donald Trump. He did not invent the game. He has no relationship to Top Trumps, okay? I just want to make that clear because I've seen some idiots on the internet saying Donald Trump invented Top Trumps. That is a real thing.
I mean, I've seen the internet, I believe it.
So, back in the 80s, Marvel released Marvel Superheroes Top Trumps, and everyone went, hooray! Later on, in the noughties, they released their Top Trumps again, and everyone went, hooray, but they did like 3 separate sets, which you could merge together and do like a mammoth Top Trump set. And it was fun, but it wasn't as much fun as the one that came out in the 80s, because the one that came out in the 80s had Baron Bloody Zemo. Now, Baron Zemo, at that point, was such a waste of a character, and he was nothing like the character that's in Captain America Civil War, right? Nothing like that. Nowhere near as nuanced, nowhere near as passionate. He's nothing like the modern version of Baron Zemo. This version of Baron Zemo literally could not win a fight with a paper bag, a wet paper bag. He was the worst, and the Top Trumps card held that up in spades. And I just realised I made a great card joke there, but, I'm even going to ignore that. That's how much I hate Baron Zemo.
Yeah, it was a real diamond of a joke.
Yeah.
Had a lot of heart.
Let's put it this way. There was no way you could use any stat on Baron Zemo in that card set from the 80s to beat any other card in that Top Trump set, in that Marvel Top Trump set. There was no other card you could beat, except maybe Susan Storm on height.
That's Baron Zemo's one claim to fame. Taller than Sue Storm.
That's basically it.
And this is... I need to stress this enough, this is a grudge you have held on for like 4 decades now.
Well, not 4 decades, but from the early noughties, definitely. Because I was working in call centres during the early noughties while I was at uni for a second stint at university. And while I was working in call centres on a night, we used to play Top Trumps, and I had the Marvel Top Trumps, and I had something like 170 game unbeaten streak that I lost because of Baron Bloody Zemo. So yeah, I have a grudge against Baron Zemo.
Excellent. Anyway, I have good news for you, Rob. Baron Zemo is not one of the villains we're talking about today, because we are specifically talking about Captain America's weirdest villains.
Oh yeah, compared to some of the other villains, Baron Zemo is he's a bloody legend compared to some of the others.
Anyway, shall I start things off?
Yes, please.
Just to let you know, Rob, some of these are going to be our favourite game of Can Rob Guess, just from the name. So, why don't we start that off with, Rob, can you tell me who Dreadmond the Druid is?
Dreadmond the Druid? Okay. The fact that he's called Dreadmond the Druid means he's either a druid who's really into necromancy, or the dark arts, or whatever, or he's a dreadlocked druid.
I mean, the first one is pretty close. Dreadmond Cromwell is a scientist who managed to combine his kind of high-tech equipment with occult magic to kind of menace Nick Fury and later Captain America with all sorts of Scientological mysticism nonsense. Specifically, he's got little flying drones that shoot lasers. Do you know what those flying drones are called? Satan's eggs.
I'm sorry, but call them Satan's eggs. You know, all I'm thinking now is deviled eggs. Like, well, I'm hungry.
Yes, exactly. He harnessed the incredible occult power of deviled eggs.
The incredible occult power of breakfast.
Anyway, do you want to know the twist in this story, Rob? Is that you do in fact know Dreadmond the Druid.
Do I?
Because in 1992, he teamed up with werewolf scientist Nightshade
yes.
to harness the power of the moon gem
Yes.
and become Starwolf.
Oh, God. Yes.
In the greatest Captain America story ever told, the Capwolf Saga,
Oh.
in which Captain America becomes a werewolf and has to team up with other werewolf characters like Wolfsbane, Feral, and also Wolverine, who's just there for some reason. Also, Manwolf is there.
Manwolf is not the Wolfman, by the way.
Yes, no, certainly don't want to make that confusion.
No, you don't want to make that mistake. Manwolf is definitely not Wolfman.
He's also not Werewolf by Night, who for some reason, despite being the only character with werewolf literally in his name, is not in this werewolf story.
That's the one I was thinking of, Werewolf by Night.
I mean, I guess it's probably because it all takes place in the day.
Yeah, because, you know, Wolfsbane. I'm thinking Werewolf by Night, but I'm calling him Wolfsbane.
Marvel likes its werewolves. It's got quite a few.
It also has a lot of vampires, but we'll get to that.
But no, I just think it's the gold standard for ridiculous Captain America stories, isn't it? Just Captain America, big furry, but still holding his shield, just running around commanding an army of werewolves to fight a bigger magic werewolf, and his scientist sidekick, whose entire motivation is just turning people into werewolves is fun.
Yep.
And I respect that, Nightshade. That's why you're one of my favourites. Anyway, shall we move on?
Yes, let's move on.
So, this one I'm not going to ask you to guess, because I think it's probably pretty apparent who Nazi Frankenstein is.
Nazi Frankenstein was Masterman, wasn't it?
Oh no, Rob.
Was that not Masterman?
Yes, Masterman is a character who, like many of Captain America's enemies, is a Nazi.
And also a man.
But this is exactly what it says on the tin. He's Nazi Frankenstein. So can you guess what he looks like?
He looks like Frankenstein with swastikas, doesn't he?
And what does Frankenstein look like, Rob?
But that's why I got confused with Masterman, because Masterman has the flat head as well.
Ah, but see, you're making a foolish error, Rob. Because I think you'll find that Nazi Frankenstein is the scientist, and you're thinking of Nazi Frankenstein's monster.
Ah, yes. I've fallen into that cunning trap that's laid by just logic in general.
But yes, this is, well, technically two characters who showed up in an Invaders story in 1978. Do you want to guess what the story was called?
Nazi Frankenstein's monster?
Don't be ridiculous again, Bob. It was obviously called Heil Frankenstein.
Heil Frankenstein.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, and yeah, so it was about Basil von Frankenstein, the descendant of Victor von Frankenstein, who decided...
They called him Basil?
Yep, Basil von Frankenstein, who decided he would recreate his ancestors' work and make a new Frankenstein's monster to work for the Nazis. And do you know what happened?
What happened?
Nazi Frankenstein took one look at his kind of jackbooty uniform, and he said, you know what? I may be an undead Hulk, stitched together from the body parts of murderers, but goddammit, I have standards. And he grabbed Basil and jumped out a window. I like it.
I was about to say it's the role that De Niro turned down.
Imagine if that was the sequel to Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein. No, know. I liked it because it reminded me of a really fun comic panel that's been kind of doing the rounds recently.
Oh?
Which is kind of from a DC and Marvel crossover. And it's the Red Skull trying to convince the Joker to work with him. And the Joker just yells, "I may be a criminal lunatic, but I'm an American criminal lunatic." It's one of my favourite things in comics where, even other villains, don't want to work with Red Skull because he's a Nazi.
Yeah.
So, next up on the list, Rob.
Yes?
Can you guess who the Death Throes are?
The Death Throes?
The Death Throes.
I think I know this one. The name does ring a bell. They had something to do with the circus or something like that. Weren't they jugglers?
Yep. The Death Throes are a mercenary group of criminal jugglers. Each one a master of kind of tossing about deadly weapons inches above their head.
Yes, each one a master of tossing, yes. Didn't they have a guy on stilts as one of them as well?
No, I think you're getting confused with the equally ridiculous Circus of Crime.
Possibly.
Who are more just generally circus-themed villains. But no, the Death Throes consist of Ringleader. He juggles razor-sharp rings. As in those things where, if you caught the outside of them, you'd slice your own hand off.
Yeah.
Then we've got Knick-Knack. He's good at throwing knives and meat cleavers. Both of those kind of make sense. What doesn't make sense?
Please say the next one's called Paddywhack.
Sadly, no. He was Paddywhack was probably one of the original members who met a sad and untimely fate because Knick-Knack also juggles chainsaws. We then have Oddball, who has trick juggling balls. So they're things like, you've got smoke bombs and grenades and acid bomb. Basically, like Batman, but with extra faff attached.
Okay.
You then have Tenpin, who of course has weighted bowling pins that he just lobs at people. And finally Bombshell. Do you know what wacky item Bombshell juggles?
Bombshell, I'm guessing, was the female member of the troupe and she throws bombs.
Yeah, that's right, she just has grenades.
We keep taking comic book creators to task for really, really poor naming.
I'm confused by Knick-Knack, because Ringleader makes sense. He's the leader, he throws rings.
Yeah.
Oddball has balls that are odd. Tenpin has, I assume, 10 pins. And Bombshell has bombs.
Yeah. See, Knick-Knack, I would just assume, Knick-Knack just gathers stuff. He's basically the magpie of the group. He just picks up random stuff and has I don't know, maybe he's got a dimensional pocket. He's got no other ability except having this pocket. And he just stashes all sorts of random items in there. And then when he's being chased, he chucks these items from his dimensional pocket at people. It could be anything that he's just picked up off the street. Or just lying around, That would make more sense, wouldn't it?
Yes, that makes more sense than the Death Throes do. Because the thing... Initially, I was just making this list thinking, oh, they're jugglers. That's kind of a funny little thing, isn't it? But kind of, the more I was thinking about, juggling is in no way a helpful skill. Juggling is not the same as being good at throwing knives.
No.
Juggling is just being able to, I guess it kind of means you can, just grab it out the air and chuck it. But also, you could just have, your knives in a little sheath on your chest and just chuck them out. But juggling just makes it more complicated and increases the risk of harm to yourself.
Yeah. And, well, here's the thing, right? The thing that I don't... I've just Googled Death Throes and I found a picture of them. Again, we come back to this age-old thing. Everyone else is... All the dudes are wearing masks. Bombshell doesn't have a mask, so it's obvious who she is.
I think Bombshell's just the only one who's not incredibly embarrassed to be part of this team.
What, she's bought into the hype. And she's committed hard. Everyone else is just kind of embarrassed. How am I going to explain this to my kid? I'm in a group of evil jugglers.
Do you know what the saddest part is? The other members actually really resent Bombshell for not committing enough. Because, I mean, you've just got bombs. Anyone can have bombs. Oddball spends 7 hours a day crafting elaborate juggling balls that, like, burst open to reveal 1 million bees. And you just have a grenade, Bombshell.
Oh.
Do you know how many fingers Ringleader's lost because of his implausibly impractical weapon that means he has to grab it in one specific place, but he still does it?
He practiced for days and days and months and weeks and years and just to grab it in that specific place.
Tenpin just always has a concussion.
And Knick Knack has been arrested so many times for just stealing random items from from places.
Yeah, that's the irony. Knick Knack has a long criminal record of petty larceny, but not one single
Exactly.
not one single conviction for, I mean, just flat out supervillainy.
Well, he's got away with it because he says he's got a condition called kleptomania. He can't help but steal things.
Man, see, that would be funny if you just juggled like an old clock and like one of those monkeys that you wind up and it bangs the symbols together, and just a bunch of spoons.
I mean, just the amount of chintz that'll come out of this, come out of it. He's chucking like old china plates and maybe the odd hand mirror, an old hairbrush, as like a ropey tennis ball that the dog's looking for.
But surely, occasionally as well, it's just like one of Ringleader's rings or one of Tenpin's bowling pins.
Yeah. And they just stop and go, I was looking for that.
Anyway, I think we've had enough fun with the death throws.
Yeah, let's move on.
We shall move on. Rob!
Yeah.
Who is Doughboy?
Oh, this is another one that rings a bell. Damn it. Doughboy. I'm going to have to guess this one. Doughboy is either a really fat villain in the way of, what's that mutant called? Blob, was it?
Oh yeah, like the Blob.
Yeah. He's either really like the Blob or he's an evil baker.
See, do you know what the great thing about comics is?
What's...
The great thing about comics is that they're sometimes awful enough that both of those are distinct possibilities.
Yeah.
And yet are also both completely wrong.
Okay. Oh.
So, Doughboy is an experiment created by... do you want to take another guess?
Yeah, I was going to say, is he like the comic book version of... You remember that Harry Enfield character, Loads of Money? Is he like the evil comic book version of that?
I mean, Marvel Comics does also have an old-timey criminal called Turner D. Century. So again,
Yeah.
It's not outside the realm of possibility. But no, does it help if I tell you that Doughboy is related to the Red Skull's chief science geek, Arnim Zola?
No, it doesn't actually makes it worse.
Okay, so Arnim Zola is one of kind of Captain America's main villains. He's kind of an evil scientist. He's basically just like a big face on a TV screen it's like stuck in the center of a robot. And so, with a body like that, you can maybe understand why his, and I quote, most perfect genetic experiment is just a big gloopy blob.
Okay.
Like, imagine Venom.
Yeah.
But if Venom was made out of, like, cookie dough.
Wow.
I'm going to level with you. I find Doughboy kind of terrifying. Because, again, he can do, like, the Venom thing where, he can kind of stretch and sort of shapeshift and sort of envelop people. But it's the fact that what he's made of is, like, just this very thick, rubbery material. And it all looks like it's constantly just melting off of him. And he's got just this completely blank, vacant expression all the time. Also, he can fly. Why can he fly? Don't worry about it. Anyway, shall we leave that haunting image and move on to one that, don't worry, I'm not going to make you guess, because he's quite a famous one. And is also, for the record, my favourite Captain America villain.
Okay.
Time for Batroc the Leaper!
See, I don't class Batroc the Leaper as a weird villain anymore because I think that, right, the way they depicted him in Captain America Winter Soldier, I thought was pretty good. And I know that Batroc, he practices Savate, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed. Let me raise your counterpoint though, Rob.
Yeah?
I like Batroc and wanted to shoehorn him into the episode.
I know. I got that. That's why I'm talking about his martial art and stuff like that. I'm actively involved. Don't worry.
But yes, Batroc's rad. He is a French mercenary and a master of the martial art of Savate. I think, basically, Mark Waid, has my best description for him.
Yeah.
Where he basically said that the genius of Batroc is Stan Lee basically created Jean-Claude Van Damme in the 1960s.
Yeah, he did. When you get right down to it. That's the thing that I think is the biggest shame is when they were looking at these, because they've done movie versions of some strange continental villains, like Diabolique and stuff like that. But if they were going to do a movie of any villain in the Marvel Universe, I think I'd be interested in seeing a Batroc movie.
Yeah, it's fun because he's one of those fun characters. But a lot of the time he's technically a villain because he works as a mercenary.
Yeah.
But he's also happy to team up with the heroes, especially if he's fighting, and I quote, men without honor.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, that's one of the best things about Batroc, is that he's always written with a ridiculously over-the-top phonetic French accent.
Yep. If you are a Batroc fan, if you do like Batroc the way that we like Batroc, then you should really read Gwenpool, because Batroc goes from the typical mercenary to becoming the wise old sage for Gwenpool, who's learning how to be a mercenary / hero-ish type person.
Yeah, I do need to read Gwenpool at some point. I'm not a huge fan of Gwenpool the character, but I'd read it for Batroc.
She's better in the Gwenpool series, except when they started shoehorning in the fourth wall breaking stuff. But just as a character, she's better in the Gwenpool series because she's got characters like Batroc around her who are teaching her how to be a mercenary and, how not to suck at being a mercenary.
Yeah. Anyway, but I think the thing with Batroc, though, and the reason he is on the list, is that I think he also gets mistaken for a silly villain a lot. Because, like I said, he's got the over-the-top French accent.
Yeah.
And he's got a bright pink costume and his twiddly little mustache.
Yep.
So a lot of time people do, treat him like he's just this one-off joke character. But I guess as well, because Batroc the Leaper, you think, oh, he's good at jumping. No, he's one of the best martial artists in the world.
Yeah.
And I think my favourite kind of compromise is people thinking, oh, it's just Batroc, what an easy villain. And then he backflips over your shield and spinning kicks you right in the face.
Yeah. Again, coming back to that scene in Captain America Winter Soldier, where you have Steve Rogers takes off his helmet and puts down his shield to fight Batroc one-on-one with no weapons or armor.
Yeah, I'll admit, I think the only thing with that bit in Captain America is I kind of would have maybe liked Batroc to be a bit more bombastic like he is in the comics.
Yeah, he was just far too mercenary.
Yeah.
In the movie.
But no, but it was cool that it definitely did show off, and it's what's his Georges St. Pierre, who's a mixed martial artist. And it was really cool to actually see it, translated into film, just him kind of, spinning about, doing all these big kicks.
Yeah.
Because that's the big thing about Batroc. It's always fun when a character has a very distinctive fighting style.
I agree.
But yeah, so, in summary, Batroc is rad, has a big personality which is fun, is always willing to team up with heroes to take down a bigger bad, which is one of my favourite story tropes. Fun costume. Spin kicks.
Also, he is a hit with the ladies.
Heck yeah, he is. Would you say no to that mustache?
Shall we move on?
We shall move on, because do you know who isn't Batroc? The Armless Tiger Man.
The what?
The Armless Tiger Man, Rob.
I thought you were going to go with the Tumbler.
No. Tumbler and the Acrobat almost made this list, but not quite.
Okay, the armless Tiger Man. Shoot, I'm game. Tell me.
I think the problem is, Rob, you're overthinking things. So, Armless Tiger Man is actually a villain from all the way back in the 1940s. And I'll admit, by calling him a Captain America enemy, I am cheating a little bit. Because he was originally an enemy for a fairly obscure 40s character called the Angel. Not the guy in the X-Men with the wings. He, like all 1940s characters, had the amazing ability of owning guns. And then he showed up in Black Panther and Captain America, Flags of Our Fathers. So he was in a comic with Captain America's name on the front.
Okay.
But anyway, Armless Tiger Man is a German man named Erich Hertz, who was a factory worker until he lost both his arms in a mechanical accident. He then took the definitely entirely reasonable view that all machines were evil and must be destroyed. At which point you think he would then become some kind of character like the Disassembler, right? Whose entire shtick is taking apart machines.
Yeah.
But nope. Instead, he sharpened his toenails and teeth and got really good at kicking.
He sharpened his
Also, maybe he's a cannibal.
Hang on. He sharpened his toenails and teeth?
Yes.
How did he do his toenails?
I mean, I think he's got very flexible legs. Like, there's one bit where he kind of picks up a knife with his toes and throws it.
I thought he got dedicated friends. Can you imagine that?
I don't know. I feel like if you're gonna destroy all machines by just, I don't know, kicking them to death, you probably don't have that many friends, do you?
Well, he might have that one friend who's always got his back, who, you know, he's embarrassed about calling. He's like, Clive, I need a hand. What you need? Can you sharpen my toenails? Why do you want your toenails sharpened?
So that I can kick all the machines to death.
Have you been drinking too much? No, I'm perfectly sober. Okay, I'll come round and sharpen your toenails. That kind of conversation.
Yeah. It's just, Armless Tiger Man's so weird because it's such a swerve from what seems like a pretty solid origin story of, you know...
Yeah.
I mean, it's very comic booky, like, injured in a mechanical accident, decided to destroy all the machines, to, I'm gonna kick and also bite. I feel like we're glossing over the biting part as well.
Yeah, we are glossing over the biting part. I mean, it's one of those ones who you kind of go, why, Marvel? Why? But then you remember it's the 1940s and you go, oh, yeah, fine.
Yeah, I mean, and then you also remember that part of it is, like, the trope in lots of old, and if I'm being honest again, not that old comics of, this person has a physical disability, therefore they are evil.
Oh, hang on. There were a few like that for Captain America. There was one really famous one. What was it? The Asthma Monster, was it?
The Asthma... Oh, I did not come across Asthma Monster when I was doing my research for this.
Right. This is a pretty famous one. The Asthma Monster, if I remember rightly, was from the 80s. I think it was late 80s. The Asthma Monster was an actual asthma sufferer who believed he couldn't help himself and decided to give everyone else asthma. Basically, you know the syndrome, if everyone's super, no one is.
That, but asthma... Jesus Christ, Marvel.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say this makes Armless Tiger Man seem not so bad by comparison, but he's still pretty bad, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's also... His superpower is having the kick's strength of a normal man. And again, I need to circle back to, his archenemy in the 1940s was the Angel. A man with guns.
Yeah.
It's just... It doesn't seem like an overly fair fight, does it?
No. It's not the weirdest thing I've read from Captain America, though.
No, speaking of other weird things, I've got a quick one for you.
Go on then.
So, can you guess who Cadavus is?
Something to do with dead. Something to do with death. Is he a dead guy who's come back to life just specifically to kill Captain America?
Right, I feel like definitely the part of the show I didn't expect was for you to consistently come up with better villains than the ones that are on the list.
It's because I know how dumb Marvel is when it comes to this sort of thing.
So, Cadavus was a member of a group called the Exiles, not the universe-hopping X-Men team.
I was about to say,
So,
I don't remember him in that.
so these were a bunch of former soldiers, kind of specifically generals, who wanted to take over the world, and, they're all from places like Mussolini's Italy, Nazi Germany, that kind of thing. And they, of course, worked with the Red Skull. And Cadavus, he was basically kind of like Professor X, in that he had like a big floaty wheelchair thing that also had kind of missile launchers and stuff. And basically, the only reason he's on this list is that he proclaimed himself to be the monarch of the murder chair. And I wanted to say that phrase.
That's exactly what Professor X was missing, was missiles on his chair.
I mean, definitely Professor X only didn't have them because he didn't think of them.
Given that he thinks of everything else. Can you imagine when they designed the chairs, like, so, cup holder, we need a mobile toilet because he can't get out of this. He's basically sealed in.
Actually, yeah, that is one of the big design flaws of the hover chair, isn't it? Like, do you have to like kind of hoist yourself out, just like crawl down the front? Or does it kind of like open up like a DeLorean or something?
Go wings.
I can't believe I've never considered the fact that there's just no way for Professor X to get out the hover chair.
Yeah, can you imagine?
And it's just designed by the Shi'ar, the most advanced aliens in the universe.
Can you imagine, when he wants to go to bed, he doesn't have a bed, he just sleeps in the chair. Oh.
Actually, you know what? There was like a whole story where Professor X started using like telekinesis to kind of restart his ability to walk.
Yeah.
Was his whole motivation for that just trying to hoist himself out of that chair?
Probably. It probably was that. Oh, hell, yeah.
And they didn't even give him a bazooka. So, I've got two more, and I'm going to tell you they're both fun ones.
Alright, okay.
So, Rob, I need you to tell me who Crack is. And I will give you a little hint.
Yeah.
Is that he is one member of a supervillain team, whose name I'm not going to tell you. Crack.
Crack?
So yes, I'm asking you, what is the Crack?
Right. Okay, I've got various options here, right? And they range from the logical to the ridiculous. One of them may be true. Let's see how it goes. So, first option is, it's something to do with drugs. So he's some kind of drug runner who's taken so many drugs, he's now immune to all pain. And, no matter how hard he gets punched, he just keeps getting back up. Number two, his weird ability is to fit through small gaps in things. Cracks, niches.
It's like a very niche... I was going to say like a very niche Ant-Man. But it was a joke because niche.
Yeah. Number three, he can form cracks in anything. So even like adamantium shields and stuff, he can crack it, but he can't break it. He can only form the cracks. Number four, he's just a really fun guy to be around.
I like that. That's my favourite one.
There you go. Those are my options.
Okay. Now, if you were going to pick one, what would it be?
I'd have to go with 4. 4 is the best option, isn't it?
It is. Well, very excitingly, one of those was actually almost right.
Really?
Because Crack is the super strong member of the Drug Lords.
Wow.
So this is a team consisting of the super fast Misfix, the cryokinetic Ice, and the smog-based Weed. And they were the villains in 1991's Captain America Goes to War Against Drugs.
See, why did they call it the speedy one, the fast one, Missed Fix? Why not call him Speed?
I mean, it's right there.
Or better, Amphetamine.
I mean, it's Misfix.
Oh, is it Misfix? Okay.
So no. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's almost like writer Peter David. You know, the guy who wrote all those Hulk comics and also X Factor and is like a very prolific comics writer.
Didn't have time.
Yeah, or just didn't put too much effort into this 2-part PSA co-produced with the FBI.
Yeah.
And yes, I know what you're thinking. The drug lords, they are obviously some at-risk teens who have fallen into crime and got superpowers from drugs, and now they need to do more crime so that they can continue to get their fix, right?
Yeah.
But what you didn't know is that the kid's benefactor is an evil alien called the Zin, who gave them special alien drugs as part of his plan to get all the kids of Earth addicted to drugs so that he could then take over the world.
A plot that was later adapted into Torchwood.
Yes. And that's why Torchwood was actually kind of bad a lot of the time.
Yeah, I know. So, in order to fight the drug lords, is that why the folks over at Marvel thought, you know, we've gone too far with this PSA stuff. We need somebody to fight the good fight. We can't just have Captain America. We got to have someone who's kind of a rival or an enemy to Captain America, but who also fights the good fight. I know, we'll go with a police officer, but this time we're going to give him some guns, some knives, a pickup truck, Kevlar body armor. We'll call him AmeriCop.
Jesus, AmeriCop. AmeriCop, I was kind of shying away from AmeriCop, because I feel like a supervillain who is a police officer who, like, decides he needs to take the law into his own hands.
Yeah.
It's just... ooh.
Yeah, I know.
Oh. And he's from the 80s, not like last week's comics.
And he's not the only Captain America bad guy who's got America in the name. There was Ameridroid.
Yeah, who's just... What if there was a robot that was Captain America, but he was big?
Yeah. Was he a 20-foot-tall replica of Captain America?
Yes, I don't know.
He's controlled by the brain, not the body, just the brain of a former Nazi spy.
Which, I mean, surely, if you're a spy, one of the least inconspicuous things you could be would be a 20-foot-tall version of Captain America.
I have to ask, is the Space Ghost wannabe in this list?
Which Space Ghost wannabe? Because there's, like, the Space Phantom, but also Moon Hunter.
No, the Space Ghost wannabe who looks like Space Ghost but has no Space Ghost powers and doesn't have space in his name at all.
How dare you, Rob? Are you trying to say that leader of Ultimatum Flag Smasher is a ridiculous villain?
Yes.
Oh, dang. Flag Smasher's great. He dresses like Space Ghost, has a big mace, and wants to just destroy the concept of countries. And all his followers dress in like white jackets and snazzy berets.
See, this is the thing. On the concept of countries, I actually agree with him. I do actually believe the concept of countries is stupid, but I wouldn't carry a mace around and hit people with it just to prove my point.
Also, more importantly, if we never had Flag Smasher, we wouldn't have the Shatterstar miniseries, which introduced a version of that character from an animal universe, whose name is Pug Smasher.
Yes. Yes.
And he's just a pug with a big old mace. I love him. Anyway, no, I'll admit, some of these characters were going to make the list, but I got slightly distracted. Because do you know what else Captain America Goes to War Against Drugs has?
What?
A word search. A word search provided by the FBI, with words like affidavit, grand jury, perjury, and white-collar crime. Can you find them all?
Okay.
I've got one last one.
Can we do some honourable mentions that didn't quite make the list? I've got a couple.
We can do. What would you like to do? Do you with the two honourable mentions then?
Yeah, I've got a couple of honourable mentions. The first one is, well, I don't know if this is the last one, so I've got to check. Is Porcupine on your list?
Porcupine's not on the list. Porcupine was kind of the one who was on the list and then got cut because I was worried I had too many already. But he is. Obviously in comics, there was a fine tradition of having a character who's based on an animal and has abilities kind of reminiscent of those animals. Like the vulture, he can fly. The rhino, he's super strong and he's got a horn on his head. The porcupine has a big load of quills that he can shoot. They're just glued on the back of his costume like a blanket.
Basically, yeah.
And it's just...
Porcupine is...
And I feel like Porcupine almost works, but he just looks ridiculous.
Yeah, he looks ridiculous. I mean, it's a blessing that he went with Porcupine and not with Civet Cat or something like that.
Is that one of those ones where they're just really stinking?
They spray you with certain things from a certain organ.
I mean, I wouldn't want to fight him if he did. I'd probably just, you know what, Civet Cat, you just rob that bank.
Yes.
I like the best, just ring the bank up. Just, okay, good news, bad news. Good news is I've got all the money back. Bad news is I don't think you're going to want it.
Okay, I've got two more honourable mentions. Hatemonger.
What's ridiculous, Rob, about the clone of Hitler who possesses people and makes them racist?
Well, I wonder.
Also, it kind of pulls us back just because do you know who killed the original Hatemonger?
Wasn't it Red Skull?
No, it's good old Susan Storm.
Oh, yeah.
She zapped a bunch of his henchmen with the hate ray and just had him gun him down.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't mess with the Invisible Woman.
Yep. Because that malice is lying under there somewhere.
Oh.
Susan Storm, the Bondagers.
I was going to say well done, but then that also meant we had to remind the audience of the Malice costume, which is...
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely... Reed Richards definitely still has that in a closet somewhere, doesn't he?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, when they had that breakup and then they were getting back together, that costume probably made it out of the closet.
It's only on birthdays and special occasions.
I've been a good boy today, Susan.
This is rapidly turning into one of those episodes where I kind of end it thinking that maybe I just hate comics. Maybe they were a mistake.
Last honourable mention. It's kind of a discount Michael Morbius, Baron Blood.
Baron Blood, yeah, he's just a vampire, isn't he? But I like that Marvel has vampires who just are kind of traditional, they're pale skin, they've got pointy teeth, and they dress kind of in period appropriate clothes.
Yeah.
And then Baron Blood, who just feels the need to dress up like a big purple bat.
Yep. He used Nazi technology to reduce his susceptibility to sunlight. He's a Nazi vampire.
Of course he is.
Who recruited Dracula to imbue him with vampiric powers.
And it's just a Nazi vampire.
Yes.
Also, that's it. We've done it. We've got the trifecta. We've got werewolf, Frankenstein's monster, and vampire. It's a full monster mash.
Marvel's Dark Universe coming soon. Oh, hell.
Anyway, we have reached the end of the list, Rob. And the final member, he's the one we couldn't do this list without talking about.
It's not Benjamin Franklin, is it?
Oh no. It's Gamecock, Rob.
Oh, wow, yes. Yes. Yes.
So Gamecock is a gang leader.
Boy, is he a leader.
Again, he's kind of like Batroc, isn't he? In that he's got a sort of acrobatic style of fighting.
Yeah.
Quite good at kicking people. He's even got little metal claws on the end of his feet.
Yep.
he also dresses like a giant blue and yellow rooster
Yep.
with the full kind of comb and the little.
Yep.
I want to say jowls, but I don't think the proper term is jowls.
See, that's why I said, oh boy, is he a leader.
He's just a big cock.
See, this is the thing. You know, in Family Guy, there's that repeated gag where Peter fights the chicken, and they have this massive fight that roams all over the town. You know, across bridges, through buses, across streets, and eventually he knocks the chicken out, thinks he's won, and he's beaten the chicken, and he walks off into the sunset. And then the chicken's eye opens.
Yeah.
You know, da-da-da. It's like that.
It's a bit like that, except for the part where kind of Captain America within 5 minutes just smacks him on the face with his shield.
Yeah.
And then he definitely has beaten him.
Exactly.
And Gamecock, like, he wasn't introduced, like, as a joke villain. He was just a regular villain who someone thought, yes, let's have him dressed like a giant rooster. That's what the kids want.
Yep.
I mean, we've got a Rhino Man.
Yeah.
Do you think it's the same guy who did Porcupine? Do you think the was just like, well, if they didn't stop me at Porcupine, they can't stop me now. And that's how we got Gamecock.
Well, what year was Gamecock from?
Let's find out on the internet.
There's a reason why I'm asking.
Gamecock was created in 1975 by Steve Englehart.
Okay, why does that not surprise me?
Actually, yeah, no, it makes sense.
See, this is the thing, right? When we got to the end of the list and I said Benjamin Franklin, there's a reason why I said Benjamin Franklin. See, there is a little known Captain America story from 1976. And that's why I said, when you talked about Gamecock, I'm thinking, this sounds like mid-70s Captain America. See, Captain America has a storyline from, I think it was something called the Centennial Battles or Bicentennial Battles or something like that. And he goes back in time, meets Butter, creates the American flag, and thinks he gets ripped off by Benjamin Franklin.
Oh my god. Marvel should make a Benjamin Franklin Revenge Squad. Where it's like Steve Rogers and also Doctor Strange, because there's the one Doctor Strange story where Benjamin Franklin steals his girlfriend.
Exactly. Do you think Marvel doesn't like Benjamin Franklin?
I don't know. Maybe they do have some kind of weird grudge.
If you look for it, you'll find a panel of Captain America going, it isn't possible. It just isn't possible. I've been ripped off by Benjamin Franklin.
I'm also pretty sure there's a Captain America story where he gets addicted to cocaine.
Oh god, yes, there is. There's one where he gets addicted to cocaine. There's one where he dresses as a woman to sneak out of a cell of radical feminists.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if it's a comic book from the 70s or 80s, and the word feminists is kind of in relation to it, it's gonna be bad.
Yep.
It's gonna be very bad and awkward.
Yep.
It's also not as good as the time Captain America had to dress up as an old lady to defeat the Nazis or something.
It's not the only time he's been old to try to defeat the Nazis, because there was that time him and the Red Skull were basically in their 80s and they had to fight each other. Marvel basically made a pair of geriatrics fight each other in a bloody drawn-out battle.
Captain America's a bit weird.
Yes.
And there you have it.
Oh.
So I think that probably brings us to the end of the show, doesn't it?
Yeah, we haven't even got into some of the other stuff from the 90s, like him having a relationship with Diamondback. Not that Diamondback, the female Diamondback, who apparently was supposed to kill him, but then didn't kill him, ended up in a relationship with him, and they ended up having a kid together. But that all got retconned. Allegedly. Maybe. Did it? Did I dream this?
I don't know. This is the second podcast I've been with you on, and you've mentioned it, and I'm not sure, Rob.
Anyway.
I mean, I'm not sure any of these are real stories. I think we've just had some collective hallucination.
Have we been attacked by the drug lords?
Maybe that's the twist at the end, is that we're just on the drug lord's spaceship.
We never once mentioned the Coney Island Cruisers, who do not sound like a supervillain. Do not sound like a villainous biker gang or whatever they were. They really don't.
Yeah, they sound like the rival gang of old people that Captain America has to contend with at the retirement home.
And when you call them the Coney Island Cruisers, that might have worked in like the 1970s or whenever they were made. They created this, but in modern terms, calling them the Coney Island Cruisers, not a good name.
No, it's not. So I think, in summary, Captain America, quite weird, has a lot of things that have aged badly.
Yes, very badly.
And that'll be it for us. So, thanks for listening to the show. If you have enjoyed it, you can find more of us at thegeekshow.co.uk or just wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what we do, consider helping us out by donating on the Geek Show Patreon for even as little as $1 a month. It'll help us pay for hosting costs and just generally keep the lights on. Oh, if you don't want to, I understand, kind of times are tough, and, even when they're not, you don't always have the spare cash to just throw at everything you like. Maybe consider leaving us a review on iTunes or your podcast app of choice, because that is one of the best ways to help us grow and reach new audiences. So, until next time, I've been Andrew.
And I've been Rob.
And thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.